Good day, everyone. Today, we will be reporting on motivation concept and its application in management. Without further ado, allow me to begin by explaining what motivation is and its role in public management. We define motivation as the process that accounts for an individual's intensity, direction, and persistence of effort toward attaining a goal. This definition is broken down into three essential elements. Intensity describes how hard a person tries. It's the sheer effort component. This effort must be channeled in the right direction, meaning the effort must align with and benefit the organization's goals to ensure the quality of the effort is high. Finally, persistence measures how long a person can maintain that effort, ensuring motivated individuals stick with the task long enough to achieve their goal. Understanding motivation is therefore the first step towards improving organizational engagement and productivity. Moving on to foundational early theories of motivation. The best known is Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory. Maslow hypothesized that human needs exist in a hierarchy of five levels. These start with psychological needs, which covers hunger and shelter, followed by safety needs for protection from harm, then social needs for belongingness and affection, esteem needs for self-respect and recognition, and finally, self actualization, which is the drive to become what one is capable of becoming. It is important to note the division within this hierarchy. Lower order needs, which are the psychological and safety needs, are generally satisfied externally. This means they depend on external factors like your salary, employment, contracts, and working conditions. In sharp contrast, the higher order needs, which are the social esteem and self actualization needs, are satisfied internally, meaning the satisfaction comes from within the person themselves, such as through personal achievement, feeling accepted, or realizing one's full potential. According to Maslow, a crucial rule is that satisfied need no longer motivates. Think of it like this: once you beat a level in a game, you don't play it again. Only the next unsatisfied need becomes the thing that drives you. However, while this theory is recognized, remember it lacks strong scientific proof. Also, the order of needs is not the same for everyone worldwide. Different cultures prioritize different needs, showing that the model isn't universally applicable.
Have you ever wondered why some people are excited to start their workday while others can't wait to leave? Motivation isn't just about a paycheck, it's about how we see our work and how our work sees us. Today, we're breaking down famous theories to help us understand what really makes a team tick. First, let's talk about Douglas McGregor and his X and Y theories. This is all about the assumptions a boss makes about their team. So, theory X is the negative view. Managers here assume employees naturally dislike work and will avoid it if they can. Because of this, they believe workers must be controlled to get the job done. While theory Y is the positive view. Managers believe work is as natural as play or rest. They assume people actually seek responsibility and are driven by higher order needs like personal pride and growth. So, while theory Y sounds better, researchers haven't actually found solid proof that these assumptions are always true, or that simply acting like a theory Y boss will automatically make everyone work harder. Next is Frederick Herzberg's two-factor theory. He realized that the things that make us unhappy at work are totally different from the things that actually motivate us. He split them into two groups. The first group is called hygiene factors, which is the foundation. These are extrinsic things like your salary, company policies, and job security. If these are bad, you'll be miserable. But if they are good, you aren't necessarily motivated. You're just not dissatisfied. The second group is the motivators. These are intrinsic things like recognition, achievement, and having more responsibility. These are the factors that actually drive you to do a great job. But the catch is, critics say this theory is a bit flawed because when things go well, human tends to take the credit. But when things go wrong, we blame the environment, which are the hygiene factors.
McClelland's theory of needs explains motivation through three needs. The first one is the need for achievement or the drive to excel and to achieve in relationship to a set of standards. The second one is the need for power or the need to make others behave in a way that they would not have otherwise. And lastly is the need for affiliation or the desire for friendly and close interpersonal relationship. To explain the theory simply, the need for achievement is the desire to do well and meet challenging goals. People high in this need prefer tasks with moderate difficulty or when they perceive their probability of success as a 50-50 chance, where success depends on effort rather than luck. They often do well as entrepreneurs but are not always effective managers in large organizations because they focus more on their personal success and achievements than leading others. The best and effective managers, on the other hand, tend to have a high need for power and a lower need for affiliation, as needs for affiliation and power tend to be closely related to managerial success. Although this theory has a strong research support, it is difficult and costly to apply in organizations because these needs are subconscious and hard to measure. Self determination theory suggests that people are most motivated when they feel that they have control over their actions, experience competence, and build positive relationships. Motivation decreases when tasks feel forced rather than freely chosen. For example, a person started work at the Humane Society as a volunteer. She used to put in 15 hours a week helping people adopt pets, and she loved coming to work. However, when she was finally hired full time at $11 an hour and doing the same work as she did before, she's not finding it nearly as much fun. When people are paid for work, it feels less like something they want to do and more like something that they have to do. While external rewards like pay can sometimes reduce intrinsic motivation, rewards such as praise, feedback, and recognition can increase motivation if they support a person's sense of control and ability. The original authors of self determination theory acknowledge that extrinsic rewards such as verbal praise and feedback about competence can improve even intrinsic motivation under specific circumstances. Overall, self determination theory states that people are more satisfied and motivated when their work aligns with their interests and values. And organizations should balance extrinsic rewards with intrinsic motivation, such as making the work interesting, provide recognition, and support employee growth and development.
Let's look at job engagement. A key feature of this is total absorption, wherein employees become so immersed in their tasks that distractions disappear, significantly increasing efficiency, accuracy, and quality. It's when an employee invests their physical, mental, and emotional energy into their performance. Because of this, engaged employees generally produce better results, including higher productivity, lower turnover rates, and fewer safety incidents. Unlike simple job satisfaction, engagement is a holistic investment of the whole person that provides a sense of personal fulfillment and a commitment to contribute meaningfully. There are several factors that can increase engagement, starting with the meaningfulness of work and the feeling that a job is worthwhile. It also thrives when employees have the right characteristics and resources, such as autonomy and tools, and when their personal values align with leadership that provides an inspiring mission. However, there are important critiques to consider. While engagement is distinct, it can sometimes overlap with job satisfaction or stress. There is even a potential dark side. If engagement becomes excessive, it can lead to work-family conflict, proving that some employees can truly have too much of a good thing.
Goal setting theory. Goal setting theory is that it is proposed by Edwin Locke back in late 1960s. Basically, his whole idea is that our intentions, the things that we aim to do, are the biggest source of motivations we have. What goals do actually do? According to Locke, goals aren't just an idea in our heads. they do specific things. First is that they tells you what needs to be done so you aren't just spinning on your wheels. And second is that it shows how much effort you need to put in order to finish it. Why specificity is important? The most important takeaway from this theory is that specific goals are way better than vague goals. Ones like do your best. When you're being specific, it acts as an internal stimulus that keeps your attention and effort locked on the task. If goals is too blurry, it's hard to stay focused. For example, if you have a truck driver and you tell them to do your best, they don't really have any target. But if you tell them their goal is to make 12 rounds trips a week, they're going to work much more harder to hit that number. The person with specific number will always outperform. Luck found out that if you actually accept a difficult goal, you're going to perform way better than if you actually pick an easy one. It's true that easy goals are safer and people accept them more often. But once you commit to a challenge, you naturally start putting in way more effort. So why harder goals work? So why do difficult goals actually motivates us? There are 4 reasons. First is focus. They force us to pay attention to the task at hand. Second, energy. They literally energize your effort because you know you can slack off. Third is persistence. They help you keep going longer without any giving up. Fourth is that in strategy, they push you to think better ways to solve the problem rather than just doing the old, slow way. Role of feedback. Basically, feedback improves how we perform in 3 main ways. First, it shows the gap. It points out the distance between where your performance is right now and the goals you're trying to achieve. Second, it guides behavior. It helps you adjust what you're doing so stay on the right track. Third is that self-monitoring is key. The theory states that self-generated feedback, which is keeping you to track your own progress, is actually more powerful than getting feedback from someone else. Next is goal commitment. This theory basically assumes that once you set a goal, you're going to stick to it and not just quit or lower the bars when things get hard. You're considered committed if you actually believe you can reach the goal and if you genuinely want to achieve. So how do we make commitment stronger? Commitment isn't always the same for everyone. It actually gets stronger depending on 2 things. Number 1, making it public. You're way more likely to stick a goal if you tell other people about it. Number 2, internal locus of control. This just means that you believe that you are in charge of your own success. Thus, self-set goals means that you'll always be more committed to a goal you pick for yourself rather than that was just assigned to you by your boss. Task characteristics. Basically, goals don't work the same for every single job. Luck found out that goals actually work better when the task is first, simple rather than complex. It's easier to hit a target when the steps are straightforward. Second, well-learned rather than new. Goals are way more effective when you already know how to do the work rather than trying to learn a brand new skill. Third is that independent rather than interdependent. Goals work the best when you can do the work on your own without having to wait on others. For interdependent groups, if you're working on interdependent tasks or groups, meaning that you are working on a team and everyone relies on each other's. The theory says that the group goals are actually much better or effective than just giving everyone their own individual goals. While goals are powerful, they can be sometimes too much of a good thing. There are specific risks when goals are implemented without balance. First is that goals may be too effective. Specifically, performance goals can reduce learning, creativity, and adaptability. In contrast, learning goals are better when skill development and innovation are required. Narrow goals. Narrow goals present their own risk, so they can encourage short term focus. And second is that it leads to unethical behavior, such as accounting fraud or risky behaviors. Goal setting theory potential problems. There are additional human and organizational factors to consider when discussing the potential problem of too much of a good thing. That all individuals respond to goals the same way. Employees low in the following traits may experience emotional exhaustion when goals are enforced, are imposed. First, conscientiousness, a lack of being organized, dependable, or disciplined. Second, emotional stability, a lower ability to remain calm and handle stress under pressure. Expert consensus. Despite this criticism, research agree on two core principles. Goals strongly shape behavior. They are powerful drivers of how people act in the workplace. Second, goals must align with organizational objectives. For goals to be successful, they must match with the broader goals of the company. Subconscious goal setting. While we often think of goals as deliberate plan, people can also be influenced by goals they are not consciously aware of. Studies have demonstrated this phenomenon through two key methods. First, word puzzles. Using achievement-related word puzzles has been shown to improve the performance. Second, visual cues. Simply viewing images of feeling has also led to increased performance. An important finding from this research is that conscious and subconscious goals operate independently. This means that our behavior can be driven by hidden triggers as much as the specific targets we set ourselves. Next, I will be discussing implementing goal setting. Goal setting is very important in management because goals strongly influence employee performance. When goals are clear, employees know what is expected of them and are motivated to perform well. However, many managers still fail to set clear goals even though they greatly affect the outcomes. So some managers try to solve this problem using the stretch goals, which are very challenging targets. While stretch goals can motivate employees, this approach is not always systematic and may sometimes create stress or confusion if not properly managed. So this is where the management by objectives comes in, or the MBO. So management by objective, it is a systematic approach to applying goal setting theory. It emphasizes participation, meaning that managers and employees work together to set goals rather than having goals imposed from the top. So under the MBO, goals should have three characteristics or three important characteristics. First is that it must be tangible, meaning that they are clear and concrete. Second, goals must be verifiable, meaning the progress can be checked and evaluated. Third is that goals must be measurable, allowing managers, employees to assess the performance objectively. How management by objectives or MBO works. First, the organization overall objectives are broken into different levels. This includes divisional goals, department goals, and individual goals. This ensures that everyone in the organization is working towards the same goal or same direction. So MBO operates in two ways. First, it is top-down approach, where overall organization goals guide the goals at lower level. At the same time, it uses the bottom-up approach where lower-level managers and employees help set their own goals. Because of this process, MBO creates a hierarchy aligned goals, linking every level of organization and ensuring that individual efforts contribute to organizational success. Core ingredients of management by objectives or MBO. Management by objective is a management approach that focuses on setting clear goals and aligning individual performance with organizational objectives. To effectively implement MBO, there are four key elements that must be presented. First is the goal specificity. So this means that goals should be clear, specific, and well-defined instead vague goals like do better. MBO requires concrete targets so employees know exactly what is expected of them. Second is the participation in decision making, including the goal setting. In MBO, employees are not just given goals by managers, instead, they actively participate in their setting goal. This encourages commitment, motivation, and a sense of responsibility. Third is an explicit time frame period for achieving goals. Goals should have a clear deadline or time frame. So this helps employees manage their time properly and allows manager to track progress effectively. Lastly, performance feedback is essential. Regular feedback allows employee to know how well they are performing and what errors or improvements. So it also helps managers guide employees towards achieving their own goals. Relationship between MBO and goal setting theory. MBO closely align with goal setting theory in several ways. First, specific goals lead to higher performance. When goals are clear and detailed, employees understand what needs to be accomplished, which improves their focus and results. Second, time frame creates clear objectives. Both MBO and goal setting theory emphasizes the importance of deadline because they give direction and urgency to tasks. Third is the feedback guides behavior. Regular feedback helps individuals adjust their action, improve performance, and stay aligned with their goals. However, there is also main difference between the two. MBO strongly supports participation, meaning employees are actively involved in setting their own goals together with managers. This increases motivation and commitment. On the other hand, goal setting theory shows that assigned goals can also be effective even if the employees did not participate in creating them, as long as goals are clear and challenging. Management by objectives. Why MPOs sometimes fail. One common reason is unrealistic expectation. When goals are set too high or are not achievable, employees may feel pressured or discouraged instead of motivated. Another reason is that lack of commitment from top management. MBO requires strongly support from the leaders. If top management does not fully support or model the system, the employees may not take the goals seriously. Lastly, MBO can fail due to the failure or refusal to link rewards to goal achievements. When employees do not see any rewards or recognition for meeting their goals, they may lose the motivation to perform well. Self-efficacy theory. Self-efficacy theory refers to individuals' belief in their ability to perform a task. It is not just about skills, but about how confident a person feels in using those skills. So when a person has high self-efficacy, it leads to several positive outcomes. They have more confidence, they put greater effort, and they show persistence, especially when tasks becomes difficult. They also respond better to challenges and negative feedback because they believe they can improve. On the other hand, low self-efficacy can have negative impacts. Individuals may show reduced efforts and tend to give up more easily, especially when they encounter obstacles or failure. Self-efficacy matters because it creates a positive cycles. When someone has a high self-efficacy, they become more engaged in their task. This engagement leads to better performance, and successful performance further strengthen their self-efficacy. Self-efficacy and goal setting. Self-efficacy and goal setting complement each other. When managers sets difficult or challenging goals, employees often feel trusted and capable. This trust helps them develop a higher self-efficacy or stronger belief in their abilities. So as self-efficacy increases, employees tend to set higher personal goals for themselves because they believe they can succeed. They put more effort, stay motivated, and ultimately perform better. According to psychologist Albert Bandura, self-efficacy can increase in several ways. The most important is the enactive mastery, which refers to the past success in performing a task. Successfully completing a task builds confidence for the future challenges. Another factor is vigorous modeling. which happens when individuals see others similar to them succeed. This makes them believe that they can also achieve the same result. Verbal persuasion. Verbal persuasion is also important. Encouragement and positive expectation from managers or peers can strengthen a person's belief in their ability. Lastly, the arousal. Arousal refers to being energized or emotionally stimulated for some task. This energy can improve performance, while for others, too much arousal may have a negative impact. Managerial implication. Training works not only because it teaches new skills, but also because it builds self-efficacy. When employees gain confidence in their abilities, they are more likely to apply what they have learned. Employees with high self-efficacy tend to benefit more from training because they believe they can succeed. They are more engaged, put greater effort, and persist when learning becomes challenging. Manager plays an important role in raising the employee's self-efficacy. One way is by setting challenging goals to show trust in employees' capabilities. Another is through practice and skill building. Providing opportunities to practice helps employees experience success, which strengthens their confidence. Lastly, managers can use positive expectation, also known as Pygmalion and Galatea effects. When managers express beliefs in their employees' potential, employees are more likely to believe in themselves and perform better. Although self-efficacy plays an important role in performance and motivation, it is not the only factor that influences behavior. Intelligence and personality traits such as conscientiousness and emotional stability also affect a person's level of efficacy. Some researchers argue that self-efficacy may partly reflect these two underlying traits rather than complete, completely separate concepts. For example, individuals who are naturally organized or emotionally stable may report higher self-efficacy. However, this idea is still debated among the researchers. There is no full agreement on how much self-efficacy is shaped by personality and intelligence versus experience and learning.
Now let's discuss reinforcement theory. Reinforcement theory takes a behaviorist view, meaning it focuses only on observable behavior. It explains that behavior is shaped by the environment, not by internal thoughts or intentions. The main idea is that behavior is controlled by reinforcers or consequences that make behavior more likely to happen again. This theory focuses on what happens after a behavior, not why the behavior started. In organizations, if an employee's effort is rewarded, that effort will continue. If it is not rewarded, that behavior will likely stop. This theory explains behavior by looking at past rewards. Employees decide how to act based on whether their previous actions were reinforced. For example, if overtime work is not rewarded, employees may stop exert extra effort. Reinforcement can shape behavior in positive or negative ways depending on what the organization rewards. This means managers must be careful about what behaviors they reinforce. This idea is closely related to operant conditioning developed by B.F. Skinner. According to Skinner, people learn through consequences. Behaviors that are rewarded tend to be repeated. Behaviors that are punished or not rewarded tend to disappear. Positive reinforcement increases desired behavior, especially when rewards are given immediately. This shows that timing of rewards is very important. However, reinforcement theory is not a complete motivation theory. It ignores thoughts, feelings, goals, and expectations. While reinforcement affects behavior, it is not the only influence. Employees are also motivated by fairness, personal goals, and expectations about the future. This means reinforcement alone cannot fully explain why people are motivated. Next, we move to social learning theory. This theory explains that people learn through direct experience and by observing others. Employees do not rely only on actual rewards. They also consider perceived consequences. If they see others being rewarded, they believe the same behavior will lead to rewards for them. This highlights the importance of role models in the workplace. There are four processes involved in modeling behavior. First is attention, where people notice important behaviors. Second is retention, where they remember what they observe. Third is motor reproduction, which means they are capable of performing the behavior. And lastly is the reinforcement, where rewards encourage repetition. All four processes must occur for learning to happen. Now let us discuss equity theory, also called organizational justice. This theory explains motivation based on fairness. Employees compare their inputs, such as effort, skills, and education, with their outcomes, such as pay, raises, and recognition. They then compare their ratio with others. When employees feel fairness, motivation is maintained, and if they feel unfairness, tension arises. Inequity creates emotional reactions. Under reward leads to anger and dissatisfaction. Over reward can result in guilt. These feelings push employees to try to restore fairness. Employees use reference to judge fairness. This reference may include their past job, co-workers, or people in other organizations. The choice of referent depends on factors like gender, tenure, position, and education. These comparisons influence how employees perceive fairness in the workplace. Responses to perceived inequity. Employees respond to perceived inequity in several ways. They may change their level of effort, may try to change their outcomes, may distort how they view themselves or others, and may change their referent or quit the job. Underpayment has a stronger effect on behavior than overpayment. Limits of equity theory. Equity theory also has limitations. Not all not all employees are sensitive to fairness. Over reward inequity often produces weak reactions. Fairness judgments are often emotional rather than calculated. This makes fairness perception complex and subjective. Now let's proceed to organizational justice, which consists of three types. First is distributive justice, which focuses on fairness of outcomes like pay and rewards. It is strongly related to pay satisfaction and commitment. Second is procedural justice, which focuses on fairness of the procedures of the processes used to decide outcomes. Important elements include voice, consistency, neutrality, accuracy, and clear expectations. Procedural justice is especially important when outcomes are unfavorable. The third type is interactional justice. This refers to fairness in interpersonal treatment. Employees value respect, dignity, and concern. This type of justice is closely linked to supervisors' behavior and communication. These theories have important implications for managers. Perceived fairness strongly affects motivation and behavior. Managers should use fair and transparent procedures. They should provide explanations, especially for negative outcomes. Allowing employees to voice concerns reduces retaliation and frustrations. Next, let us discuss expectancy theory developed by Victor Vroom. This theory explains motivation based on expected outcomes. Employees are motivated when they believe effort leads to performance, performance leads to rewards, and rewards are personally valuable. Expectancy theory has three key relationships. Expectancy is the belief that effort leads to good performance. Instrumentality is the belief that good performance leads to rewards. Valence is the belief that rewards are attractive and meaningful.
Moving from theory to practice. We now shift our focus to motivation from concepts to applications, which covers how managers can strategically apply these concepts in the workplace. We will begin by detailing extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation, and then examine job design methods for improving employee engagement. Motivation can be broadly categorized as either extrinsic or intrinsic. Extrinsic motivation often centers on pay and external rewards, which is one central means of motivation. The other form, intrinsic motivation, stems from the internal satisfaction a person derives from the job itself, rather than the external pressure or incentives. To better tap into intrinsic motivation, we examine the Job Characteristics Model, or the JCM, developed by J. Richard Hackman and Greg Oldham. The JCM describes any job in terms of five core job dimensions: skill variety, which is the degree a job requires a variety of activities; task identity, which requires the completion of a whole piece of work from start to finish; task significance, the degree a job affects the lives or work of other people; autonomy, the freedom and discretion provided to the worker; and feedback, the clear information obtained about the effectiveness of performance. These five dimensions link to three critical psychological states: skill variety, task identity, and task significance together lead to experience meaningfulness of the work. Autonomy leads to experience responsibility for outcomes of the work. Finally, feedback leads to knowledge of the actual results of the work activities. The job's motivating potential is quantified using the Motivating Potential Score, or MPS. The MPS is a predictive index calculated by averaging the three meaningfulness dimensions and then multiplying that result by autonomy and feedback. A high MPS indicates a highly motivating job, as it must score high on at least one meaningfulness factor, plus high on both autonomy and feedback. Jobs low in these core dimensions have a low MPS and are unlikely to result in positive personal and work outcomes. Managers use job redesign applications to increase the MPS. One key method is job rotation, which is also referred to as cross training. This practice involves the periodic shifting of an employee from one task to another, provided the new task requires similar skills. The primary benefits or strengths of job rotation are that it naturally reduces employee boredom, increases motivation, and provides the organization with a wider range of skills for greater scheduling flexibility. However, it is not without drawbacks. The weaknesses associated with a job rotation include increased training costs and a temporary yet necessary decrease in productivity as employees adjust to their new roles. The other primary method is job enrichment. This technique is defined as a vertical expansion of jobs, specifically by increasing the worker's control over the planning, execution, and evaluation of their work. This application is designed to create meaningful work and give the worker independence. To achieve this, managers have several suggested actions for enrichment. They can combine tasks to raise skill variety and task identity. They can form natural work units so tasks are viewed as meaningful. They can establish client relationships to increase task significance. They can expand jobs vertically to grant more autonomy. And they can open feedback channels so workers know their performance levels.
Flex time is short for flexible work time. In this arrangement, employees must work a specific number of hours per week, but they are free to vary their start and end times within certain limits. Most flex time plans include a core period such as 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. when everyone must be at their desk. The hours around this core are the flexibility bands, allowing early birds to start at 6 a.m. and night owls to stay until 6 p.m. Research shows flex time generally reduces absenteeism and improves productivity. It helps employees balance their lives and work when they feel most productive. But the catch is, it isn't a one size fits all solution. It doesn't work for jobs requiring fixed time interactions like retail, sales, and receptionists. Next is job sharing, which allows two or more people to split a traditional 40-hour work job. The upside is that it lets a company use the talents of multiple people in one position. It's a great option for skilled workers who can't work full time, like retirees or parents with small children. Some firms even use it to avoid layoffs when they are overstaffed. The downside is that the biggest challenge is finding compatible pairs who can coordinate the work effectively. Also, some managers historically view job sharers as having lower commitment to the company. Finally, we have telecommunicating. This refers to working from home at least 2 days a week on a computer linked to the office. The pros is that for the employer, this offers a larger labor pool, higher productivity, and reduced office costs. Employees enjoy more freedom and less time spent commuting. The cons are managers sometimes worry about having less direct supervision. For employees, it can lead to social isolation and an out of sight, out of mind effect, where they might be passed over for promotions because they aren't physically present for informal office interactions.
Now, let us talk about the social and physical context of work. This refers to the environment where people work, including their relationships with coworkers and the physical condition of the workplace. For example, we have Robin and Chris, who are both first grade teachers. Robin worked in a school where coworkers were hostile, administrators and teachers had conflicts, and students were not motivated to learn. On the other hand, Chris worked in a school with supportive colleagues, enthusiastic students, and an encouraging principal. Because of this positive environment, Chris performed better than Robin. This shows that having a supportive social environment can greatly affect job performance. Studies also show that even if an intrinsic work is interesting, employees may still feel dissatisfied if they feel isolated. Social factors such as teamwork, support from coworkers, and interaction with others help employees perform better and stay motivated. Positive social relationships allow employees to help one another, creating a positive cycle where everyone benefits. The physical work environment is also important. People are generally more satisfied when they work in a safe, clean, quiet, and comfortable places. For example, most people would rather work in a coffee shop than in a loud and dangerous factory. When employees lack proper tools, equipment, or safe conditions, their performance and satisfaction usually decrease. Employee involvement is when employees are allowed to participate in decisions that affect their work. The logic is that if we engage workers in decisions that affect them and increase their control over their work lives, they will become more motivated, more committed to the organization, more productive, and more satisfied with their job. One example is participative management, where employees and managers share decision making responsibilities. This approach works best when employees are knowledgeable and relevant to the issue on hand, involved in decisions that matters to them, and when trust exists between workers and managers. While it does not always guarantee higher performance, it can improve morale and job satisfaction under the right conditions. Another example is representative participation, where employees choose representatives to speak for them in management decisions, such as through works councils or board representatives. However, research shows that this method often has little real impact on most employees and it is mainly symbolic. Finally, employee involvement is connected to different motivation theories. It supports Theory Y, which believes that employees are responsible and motivated when they are trusted and allowed to participate in decisions. In contrast, Theory X assumes that employees need strict control, which is why it is linked to an autocratic management style. Employee involvement also relates to the two factor theory because it increases intrinsic motivation. When employees are given opportunities to grow, take responsibility, and be involved in decision making, they feel a sense of achievement, recognition, and self worth. As a result, they may become more motivated and engaged in their work.
Now let's move on to variable pay programs. Variable pay means that a part of an employee's salary depends on their performance or the company's performance. There are different types of variable pay plans. Piece rate means employees are paid for every unit they produce. Merit-based pay is given based on performance evaluations. Skill-based pay depends on how many skills an employee has or how many jobs they can do. Profit sharing means employees receive extra pay when the company earns more profit. Gain sharing rewards groups or teams for improving productivity. Lastly, SOPs allow employees to buy company stocks at a lower price. Overall, variable pay helps motivate employees to perform better and contribute more to the company. Now let's move on to what to pay. Establishing a pay structure. A pay structure is about deciding how much employees should be paid. It balances two things. First is internal equity, which means the pay should match the value of the job inside the organization. Second is external equity, which means the pay should be competitive compared to other companies in the industry. Organizations also make strategic choices when setting pay. Some companies choose to pay higher than the market rate to attract more skilled, motivated, and qualified employees.
Flexible benefits. Flexible benefits allows employees to tailor their benefit package according to their own needs and personal situation. Instead of receiving the same benefits, employees can choose what is best fits their lifestyle. There are several popular types of flexible benefits. First is modular plans. These are pre-designed benefit packages created for specific employee groups. Employees choose a package that best matches their needs. Second is the Core Plus option. This type provides a core set of essential benefits for all employees, along with a menu for additional benefit that employees can select from. Lastly, flexible benefit spending account. It allows employees to set aside their pre-tax dollars for expenses such as health or dental premiums. So this helps reduce taxable income while covering important costs. Intrinsic rewards, employee recognition program. Employee recognition programs are designed to recognize desired behavior in the workplace. These programs can range from something simple like spontaneous thank you to more formal awards such as Employee of the Month. One major advantage of employee recognition program is that they are highly motivating. They also require very little cost to implement because praise is free, yet it has a strong positive effect on employee morale and performance. In terms of long-term impact, non-financial incentive like recognition and appreciation can be more motivating over time than financial rewards. Employees often value being acknowledged and respected for their efforts.